Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to the World Below. In this video, at the request of one Ben, thank you very much Ben, for picking up copies of the Delver's Guide and Secrets of Calm and Chaos in hardcover and contacting me through MatthewDawkins.com to request this video. If you want to request a video, do just back the Buried Treasures campaign, which is linked in the video description below, and contact me through MatthewDawkins.com to let me know that you've backed for a hard copy and request a video of your choosing. It doesn't have to be World Below related, but I'm very glad to see so many that are. Anyway, Ben wanted to know which was my favourite settlement to set a game around in the World Below, settlement or community, set a game around in the World Below. And that is quite a difficult question. It's a nice broad question, Ben. I appreciate you giving me a lot of freedom here, because when initially devising the world below, the vast majority of settlements and communities were from my head. I came up with them in order to string a sentence and a setting together. When I was speaking to Rich Thomas about it, Onyx Path's creative director, and pitching him on the world below, a lot of that came down to me being able to describe how places may vary in this setting, so that they're not all just dank caves with dripping stalagmites and so on. And one of the first ones I came up with was Agosby, or Agosby if you prefer. Agosby is a settlement that is strung up around a very deep chasm. It is a settlement of bridges, of staircases, of caves, and of various suspended apparatus. It is by no means anyone's ideal form of settlement. Agosby is somewhere that stands out due to how unusual it is. The fact that the people that dwell there are often climbing up and down the insides, the walls of the chasm. They're mining for valuable resources and they're bringing them back up to the bridges. And how anyone who happens to break the rules of Agosby takes a dive. Which isn't great for anyone who's working on the walls down below, because they'll hear someone falling from way up there. Like that. So I wouldn't say it's the most fantastic settlement for actually dwelling, or indeed morale, but it is, as it suspends over the Vanith chasm, quite, I suppose, in its way, picturesque. It is unique. I don't think there are any other settlements we've created that span a chasm like this. I mean, no one else would be so foolish as the Agosby. It is deep inside the granite stratum, and anybody who dwells there is definitely going to have a hardened survivalist mindset. It's a place where some of the greatest hunters emerge, some of the greatest artificers, where secrets are mined from the abyss down below. And anyone who decides to live there for an extended period is highly likely to enjoy the extremes of life, because death is never that far away. The idea of plummeting to your death because you've rolled out of bed the wrong way is always present. Now, most people don't just sleep on ledges overlooking infinite fall, but some do, because the people who come to Agosby aren't always the most stable to begin with. They're often experts, they study the abyss in close proximity, or they'll trade for various imperishable foodstuffs that they mined out of the chasm, but they are also going to be slightly unpredictable in nature. Now, it was built many, many calms ago. This is not a recent settlement. It could indeed be one of the first major build-ups of survivors from the world above, who dug and rappelled into the chasm depths because they found tools of immense value, or ores of immense value. This is the first place deep stone was extracted in the world below, and Anyone who wants to, I guess, subdue or neuter the effects of chaos rocks and chaos magic will clad themselves in deep stone. That title has been somewhat taken by the settlement of Auracasta now, which is a more recent settlement. Still old, but it's more recent than Agosby and allows you to find deep stone without such immediate peril. Anyway, the artificers built the settlements. They built a way station spanning the drop, and soon various hunters discovered the place as well. Hundreds of travelers began to congregate there so they could find and craft things like abyssal weapons and tools and so on, and farm the unique lichens around the nascent settlement. And this propensity for lichens and abyssal substances created something akin to a gold rush. People, hundreds of people, were arriving all on different sides of the chasm until eventually where the chasm was most accessible became far too crowded, and so people started building down and into the walls, and then people started building astride the chasm. Keep in mind as well, people weren't all arriving at the same depth. Some people were arriving through caves and caverns and tunnel complexes, so it resulted in a settlement unusual for its verticality, I think it's fair to say. Now, there's only one major guild that still exists in Agosby, and it is still the Company of Artificers, who established the Council of Bridges. They standardize construction, they have strict weight measurements for what you're allowed to build and what can be sustained, they institute taxes, they are basically responsible for future improvements over the settlement. They have no interior police, but they will often employ hired blades who will cut down substandard bridges and threaten anyone who is foolish enough to build them. There isn't much of a social ladder in Agosby. It is a utilitarian kind of a place where your presence in the guild is probably more important than any kind of crown you might wear on your head. But one thing that is worth noting is that as a settlement on the edge of existence, sort of hanging by a thread, everybody there is aware that if there was a major disaster in Agosby, that could be it for the entire settlement. That creates an odd form of unity not present in every settlement in the world below, which faces a similar risk, albeit from different fashions. In Agosby, you are constantly looking at your own demise. All you have to do is step outside your front door, and you can look down and see inevitable doom, should you fall. And should the earth tremor severely, should a chaos storm rip through Agosby, which they are very careful to not allow with all kinds of defences, well, it would probably kill absolutely everybody who dwells here. You may then wonder, why would anybody dwell here beyond the reasons I've already stated? In a similar way to how people might live on the side of an active volcano because the ground there is so fertile, or because their ancestors owned properties on that same volcano, people are drawn to stay in Agosby, even if it isn't an ideal form of living. The people there look after each other, because if you're an Agosby, you are one of us. I really appreciate Agosby, both from a visual standpoint, but also thematically. I love the idea of the bridge sports that take place in Agosby. Various various high-risk sports of people and objects being projected from bridge to bridge to earn points or compete with each other. Is great fun in my mind. I'm also very fond of the fact that it has a sort of company town feel, with the Council of Bridges running it, in a similar way to how people might congregate around a mine during a gold rush and are being paid in coupons that they can only spend in the mining store. You have a similar kind of feel in Agosby here. Now, beyond that, what I would recommend, because you asked about it, Ben, we have gone into a lot of detail on Agosby, on the Crystal City, on Mudtown, on Oracaster, on Telva's Hearth, in Secrets of Calm and Chaos, one of the books that we are currently crowdfunding over on BackerKit. If you are to back, well, I know you already have, Ben, but if you, the viewer, have decided that they want to back the Buried Treasures campaign for a hard copy, well, congratulations. Not only will you get Secrets of Calm and Chaos and be able to find out all this detail and more about Agosby and other settlements and communities in the world below, it is a brilliant setting book, Secrets of Calm and Chaos. You can also contact me through MatthewDawkins.com and request a video of your choosing. All you have to do is back the books at the hard copy tier. Do so, get in touch with me via MatthewDawkins.com and request a video of your choice. Anyway, that's it from me for today. I do hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time for more World Below. Be seeing you.